Alright, yo, what is good? It's looking mad late at night right now, and I'm just getting this video loaded, bro. It is 12:16. So I look, got some work to do, and I could not get this video uploaded before. I just had a lot of stuff going on today, and I'm trying not to speak that loud just because there's just people sleeping. But yeah, hopefully I don't have to do too much editing in this video, just so I can upload this as soon as I finish this. And head to sleep. So let's just kind of get this started real quick. So first of all, of course, we're gonna check our news for the 13th. Obviously, we're doing this trade recap. So, 13th January, nothing. Sorry, a little sick. Clear as days. So, or clear as whatever. I always say it wrong, probably, but we have no news. So that's fire, right? So obviously, like I said, I always kind of just look at the weekly, just like as CU long term where the market's going. It doesn't really affect too much on my daily buys. I just like to know. So overall, we're still bearish for this, still structured to the downside, right? We're going down to our daily, which is where I take it into a little bit consideration. We see here, this was the previous moves. This is the 13th right here. And so prior to this, we have the dumps down, and we have here, actually look at today, actually just came to fill this imbalance. But prior to this, we were just right around here. We can see we still had our dumping going. So, pretty nice on that. We were still forming this candle. This is different candle here. Still forming this candle. So, I was like, hey, overall, it looks like we're still dumping. Possible imbalance that could have formed during that time when I was looking at this. And we can see now that it did form. But what we were looking at was essentially, hey, this is dumping, and essentially just even more dumping. We had this imbalance get filled, and we had just more dumping straight to the downside. So overall, pretty bearish, just like it's been for some of this past time. And with the 4 hour, I have no clue what the heck is going on with all these drawings. See, this is what it would be nice to get these out earlier for. Yeah, my fault. So you know what, I might need some of this here probably for later, because I remember I was drawing stuff on different charts. But anyways, so what I was looking right here, also in the 4 hour, just kind of to give me like the overall sentiment of where we're going at this point. This is approximately where market open. This is 9 o'clock. So anyways, so prior to this, we have our dumps right here, right? Just straight dumping. We have this imbalance get a little bit retested right here. Then we have our dump down. So overall, what are we looking at? Straight bearish sentiment, really, for all of this movement, and it's just like that. All right, so we're starting to get a little bit more nitty gritty, and we see with the 1 hour, we also have like pretty much mirroring what we're seeing on the 4 hour, and we can see that we basically just have our overall bearish structure with this, and we can even see we have a ton of rectangles literally just drawn all over the place that I would appreciate if I knew what they were for. So I'm just going to delete them, and then I'll draw them if I need them. This looks like for my trade today. However, right, getting back to the topic, we see like just overall pretty much bearish sentiment in the market before open, and we can see we also had this imbalance right here that came in, got retested, and we just continued to the downside as well. It looks like down here we also had this imbalance right here. We're going to just delete this. We had this imbalance right here on the hourly. We come in, fill this imbalance, and then we just keep dumping down to the downside. So this was just prior market open, and that's really what I was looking at, as well as this imbalance that was created on this hourly. And I don't want to delete everything that's super down here, just because that's probably where I took all my like executions and whatnot. But if you see right from this to here, this imbalance, we come in here, we fill this imbalance, and we actually do a little dump down on a lower time frame, because we can see this is just rejected off this. We come in, imbalance, and then we have our little dump, which is essentially where we took our trade. If we scale down, we'll probably be able to catch that movement there. All right, now scaling down to the 15-minute. This is basically just a mirror of what we are just looking at in the 1 hour. Essentially, this is all just like, it really just turns into a mirror of each other, like the more you look at it. Now the 15-minute, like I was saying, we have this imbalance, which I already had highlighted. So I'm assuming the one we were seeing on the 1 hour is probably this one. Or it's technically right here, but this is also an imbalance that was on the 15-minute. So just looking to what market was doing pre-market, we had this imbalance right here come in, and then we had price come in, and then fill imbalance come down, and whatever the heck this was, whoever the heck was trading this day, which you probably shouldn't have been trading because I'm pretty sure there was news. Let me just check. Yeah, there was. Whatever the heck that was, straight accordion right there. But yeah, so we had price come down, play the accordion a little bit, and then we had these three candles come down. And then if you actually see here as well, just looking at what price is doing before market is open, just making sure we're developing a good bias. We have this imbalance also get filled right here, and with that, we have a dump straight falling after that. So moving right down to here as well, this is essentially now more closer to the time frame where I was about to take my trade, and there's a ton of rectangles right here, which I would like to know why the heck they're there. But we have this imbalance also right here, and essentially this is the trade we took into this imbalance, and then we had price come out of this imbalance. And you can see right came in, filled this imbalance, and then we had our drop down, and later it didn't end up actually keep dumping down. We actually had a reversal right here, but however, like I was saying, we caught this trade into the bearish imbalance right here. All right, so now scaling down to the 5-minute chart. Obviously, if we're going for a short, then we're not going to be wanting to get in when it's already in a bearish movement. So we're going to be looking for some sort of retracement or structure back to the upside, so that way we can catch the top of the upside and catch it coming back down. So perfectly, that's exactly what we had. All this pre-market, we could see yeah, all this time pre-market right here, we had this just retracing back to the upside, which essentially is what ended up giving us our play for the day. If we look down to the 1 minute, we could see if this thing loads. Okay, give me 1 second while I get the chart. All right, so now I'm down to the 1 minute, and I accidentally just pressed something. Okay, so I'm going to delete all of these unnecessary rectangles that I absolutely have no clue why they're there. So like I was saying, just pre-market, I was just noting down a few things. Now that I see it here, we actually had this sweep happen earlier before pre-market, or before pre-market. What even is that? Pre-market, and we see market open right here. And before this, I was just getting some practice in, I guess, before market open. We see we actually had this imbalance that was from the 5-minute. Well, actually, it wasn't an imbalance on the 5-minute, but we have this imbalance down on the 1 minute. And in this too, we had this point of liquidity where we actually had this liquidity sweep and fill of the imbalance, which actually sent us pretty like a start to our bearish movement, if you want to say that. We can see we had a liquidity sweep, we had our fair value gap right here. That was it with the liquidity sweep, I guess, if you want to say that. So we had a liquidity sweep, and we had our breaker structure. We had our order block right here that you could barely even see. It's like really weird. But anyways, we had our order block right here. We had retracement back into equilibrium, and this imbalance right around right here, this imbalance, and this kind of looks like an imbalance too. Now I'm looking at it, but it might be small. But it still works. But anyways, yeah, and then we had our price just dump after that, and then dumped right to this point right here, the zone of liquidity, where essentially we would then lead into market open. Now going into market open, this is essentially what we were looking at during market open is, for, like I said, we want to catch the top of the movement and then essentially sell at the bottom of the movement. But more importantly, just catch the top of the movement, because you don't want to buy in when, well, at least, just how I do it, you don't want to buy in when you're already have been moving down. So looking at this, my thought for this was, okay, we need our retracement back up. And like I had said, after this dump, we had our retracement back to the upside, where we created this sort of imbalance right here. And like I've been seeing, I've been catching these sweeps on liquidity that have been happening inside imbalances, which has been pretty nice to see, because they just give me more confidence. So now we see this point of liquidity right here, and then later we could see that price comes down and then actually comes back up to sweep this liquidity. So we could label this whole thing right here as our, we actually can barely see that because of the line, but as our order block right up to here. I'm just going to delete this now because, or just make sure that's good. Yeah, just keep that there for reference. So we have our sweep on this point of liquidity in this imbalance as well, a retest on this, and we have our break of structure to the downside. And then after this, what do we have, right? Liquidity sweep, break of structure, order block entry, and then we have equilibrium, which, give me a second to draw this. My drawings don't always save. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So we have our price in a discounted range that we could enter in. And we also have this imbalance that we could enter off of as well. That is right here, where it is pretty much where we entered at. You can see here. And also this imbalance, it was a imbalance on the 5 minute. Now that I remember, I was looking at this, which is why I aimed for that imbalance to be my entry. Let me find it real quick. There's literally just a ton of movement around, so I'd rather just skip those parts. All right, so we can see right here on the 5 minute, like I was saying, this was an actual, what the heck does that even mean? This is a retracement into a imbalance that we also had formed from this point right here to this point right here that we actually came up to fill before we sent price back down. So that was pretty good confluence for me as well, because we had this 5 minute practically working with the 1 minute to just send price downward. And this point right here was actually where I set TP. We can see it right here. Like this is where we ended up selling or buying. And the reason why I did this is because if we look at the 5 minute, essentially what we have here is the play on liquidity from the 1 minute. So a liquidity sweep that we were looking at from earlier. So we have this liquidity sweep, and what I'm really looking at is the 1 minute liquidity sweep, and just my whole strategy basically on the 1 minute. But I'm using the 5 minute as a means to play a safer TP. So we can see that if this was a valid reversal or liquidity sweep on the 5 minute, then this would be our order block. So that also is a reason to why I set my TP here, and also to go along with the fact that, you know, this is technically also the next point on liquidity right here. And yeah, so let me get this out the way real quick. Now, that is essentially why I decided to enter off this imbalance, because if we look, there was this imbalance as well. But in one of my previous trade recaps, I saw something similar, now that I think about it, where I aimed to try to go for a higher imbalance that was on the 1 minute, but on the 5 minute, that imbalance wasn't even a thing. It was the imbalance that was, say, lower than that. Just like in this case, we have this imbalance down here, and I ended up getting a later entry just because I wanted to just be greedy, I guess, and get a better entry when the possibilities were way lower. So I ended up going for this imbalance, and when price came back into this imbalance, I feel like all my drawings went away, but they low-key, I don't know. Let me just put this back. So, like I was saying, we have price at a discounted range, and pretty much all my confluences so far were met on this point. So for my entry point on this trade, like I was saying, was this imbalance right here, and I was waiting for price to come in and then close below this imbalance again, which we see right here when we come in. We close right here. So upon closing of this candle, that's when I came into the trade, right about somewhere around here. And my position thingy isn't set up, which I don't know why, but essentially it ended up being, I remember it saying like 2.35, but it was probably closer to like 2.17 or somewhere along those lines. Okay, so that was our position that we had on this. Our entry was right here, and then we had this right here. So I had to go back and check that just to make sure this is good. You know, it's kind of weird because before I said 2.35 and now it says 2.04. Who knows? What matters is there's a dub, I guess, right? So we entered off the break below this imbalance, and then we came back in, and for a second there we closed above this imbalance, and then we could see that shortly after that we just came back under this imbalance, and then came back, rejected, and then just slowly started dumping down. And as this trade was going, I was just watching out for this kind of huge imbalance that we were looking at, and price actually ended up closing below it, so that was pretty good for me. And like I said earlier, like back up here, we closed above it just for a little bit, and then price rejected and kept moving downward and downward. And then we got up until this point where we had a pretty big retracement back to the upside, which um, to the typical person would probably be scary. But if you come up with a analysis or whatever your bias is for the day, if you came up with that bias and that's what you decided to trade, then stick through it all the way because you came up with it for a reason. If you doubt it, you're basically just saying that you don't trust what you think or what your bias is. So, like I said, we had this imbalance right here, which at first we got actually pretty close to TP. Price just said not, and we came back into this imbalance first, and then looks like we were rejecting off the imbalance. We actually closed below it as well, but then we actually ended up getting this big movement, absolutely going past all this, and then we come back into this imbalance that we were looking at before, which would be an inverse now, and then we come in back and retest this, and then we come flying back down, and then we have this little moment of consolidation right here until we see price, just starting to reject everything that's happening within this imbalance that we were looking at before, and we have price move down and hit TP, and then we called it GG's for the day. So now that I'm looking at this trade, like I do at the end of like all the videos so far, I just want to point out what I think I could improve with just the trades in general. And overall, I would say this trade was pretty valid just because I had like all my confluences were met, and there wasn't really much problem with taking this trade. It was I want to say like a one of the uh, more like obvious trades. It was just, we had our liquidity sweep, we had our break of structure, we had our retrace into the order block, we had equilibrium, pretty much a pretty nice range above it as well. So we weren't like stuck just at equilibrium or just barely. We also had this imbalance right here, and price moved pretty smoothly, had this retracement after this nice dump down, just as expected, just healthy price movement, honestly. After some movement just falling downwards for a while, some type of retracement is expected, and just like we got right here. And then after that, we continued our movement downwards, and overall, it was just uh, I would say it was a pretty nice trade. Of course, we could always improve things like aiming for better TPs. Like we see, essentially, this ended up uh, hitting bottom at right around here, which would be like a 2.9 risk to reward. And yeah, like we could improve on that, but for now, I just want to kind of keep it consistent with how I've been executing my trades. And it's not like I don't look at these things. I look at them and look at other points of liquidity, which price uh, moves to or doesn't move to after my TP. Stop loss, of course. And I just look, just to eh, just to give myself like the information on, like over time I could set, instead of my TP here, this could be to TP here, for example. And I just want to have more confidence with this just before I just decide, let me just head in, because so far this has been working pretty nice how I've been taking this. Of course, if we just improve with the looking at the TPs and entries, and overall right now I would say with this trade, it's just looking at the small things. I wouldn't say there was really too much with this trade that I would say I messed up on. I was here pretty early actually today. I was looking at the market from probably half an hour before market open. So I was pretty focused in on my bias before this even happened. I was just waiting for this, and yeah, I was just basically just waiting for my setup. had my setup, and then proceeded to play this out, and it played out, and it was pretty nice. So there's nothing to complain about with this. But like I said, I'm just gonna keep consistency with this for now. It's just what's been working for me. So just small tweaks that we could probably make over time. Uh, of course, not all trades will probably be like this, but just as of this specific one, uh, I wouldn't say there's probably too much that I think personally that I messed up with, and I'll show you guys the. So yeah, so this was today's 212.77 was the profit for today. So yeah, that is from this. We ended up closing just a little bit below it, so that's probably why it says 212 instead of whatever this would be, like 204, because we ended up just bottoming out this just a little bit faster than orders could get filled. So, never complain over extra buck or two. So yeah, but anyways, there is news tomorrow. I think. Let me see. What is this today? 13th. Yeah, there's news tomorrow, so I definitely won't be trading tomorrow. Next day, there's not any real news that could impact it. Well, I'll probably be back on. So yeah, I probably won't be on 15th either. Maybe the 16th. We'll see. But anyways, that's the trade recap for today. Well, yesterday. But anyways, yeah, I'll see y'all boys.